We're live. It is Rich Lieberman. I waited quite an extensive amount of time to talk about this because, contrary to what some of you might think, I do very much consider what I say. I just don't go and run roughshod, no matter how pathetic, no matter how disgusting, no matter how repulsive content that I view and listen to regularly. But this one, for the moment, takes the cake. So I'm constantly, maybe to a fault, watching developing news like I did, like I saw, observed what was taking place, the tragedy, the absolute horrificness to greet and embrace ourselves for the new year, mind you, the horrific events in New Orleans. So I'm tuning into various stations, not just local, but CNN, BBC, Fox News, Bloomberg News, everywhere across the entire electronic spectrum, locally, nationally, CBS, NBC, PBS, all of the channels. I try, and I even if I didn't do this, I would do it anyway. I am a news junkie. I want to see coverage. I want to see and watch and get information. That's what I want. I want try to be as informed as possible, especially doing this. I put KTVU on. KTVU, what used to be a regarded, a classy, a renowned news operation. And what the hell these people are running in the morning, right when this whole situation was fluid, was taking place, developments coming in, and now we didn't know what was going on. But anyway, KTVU is running their pathetic, insensitive, ridiculously clumsy, unoriginal program called Like It or Not. And of all people, this, mind you, they're airing this. It's probably taped at another time. Of course it was. They're airing it on New Year's Day. Right when, check this out, folks. Stay with me here. All the horrific videos are emerging. And the fact that we had, at that point, we only knew that there were 10 dead. Now we know that there's 15 dead. And that there are several people in the hospital still, and that inevitably the death toll is going to climb. But hear me out on this. KTVU is running Like It or Not, which is a panel show of these nincompoops, one of which I'm going to get to right now. Of all people, Tom Vakar, a guy they've been trying to fire, literally, Fox has, which owns KTVU. They are fearful for firing him. He in his mid-70s, who they deem way, way, way too old and decrepit, he's on this panel, Like It or Not, and they're talking about some stupid thing, completely tone deaf. I'm not talking about Vakar now. I'll get back to him. To what is happening, why all the channels, the network news, and some of the local channels didn't pay respect to this because it was New Year's Day. I guess they got an excuse, with the exception of one, and that's KGO TV, owned by ABC, which stuck with this all day and into the night. KTVU has become Foxified Central, airing this pathetic, unoriginal, completely tone deaf, and not just while they're running this program, while all hell took place in New Orleans. You think somebody at KTVU would have had a quarter brain and said, you know what? I'm going to call the general manager. I'm going to call this pathetic news director that we have, even though I'm just going to do some basic protocol. They ran this program. Not only did they run it on KTVU, they also ran it on their sister station, Channel 6, KICU, KTVU Plus. So you had a 1-2 combo of like it or not. I didn't like it. And of course, since I'm not patting myself on the back here. Nobody talks about the local media here. There's nobody calling KTVU out. And I will call them out. This is malpractice to the nth degree. To run a program, like it or not, talking about inane, if there was nothing going on, it would be inane. You have a national tragedy taking place. For God's sakes, it caused the cancellation of the Sugar Bowl, which is now being played, but caused the cancellation of the Sugar Bowl. Many people thought perhaps this is the beginning of a mini 9/11 because you had the ongoing situation in New Orleans, compounded by the fact of what happened in Las Vegas, where there was an explosion of a car, the Tesla car, explosives, simultaneously taking place within an hour after what has transpired in New Orleans. And what the hell is KTVU doing? Do they take the network feed, if there was one? Do they put together a couple of anchors and call them and said, God damn it, we can't run this stupid program while New Orleans is in mourning, and they shut down Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, and there's 12 people dead. And yet we're running this stupid, idiotic, pathetic, like it or not, while the situation in New Orleans is taking place. Now think about this, folks. Think about this. You have a national absolute story. The networks, all the networks left their original programming. ABC, to their credit, went with this. KGO, I give them credit. They went with the network. And Channel 2, while bodies, disfigured bodies that had just been crushed, many of them by this insane terrorist who killed himself, KTVU is running like it or not. Now this, folks, I'm just going to shut up for a few seconds. Ruminate that in your brain. Think about that. Think about what's happening at the time. And I waited a day to say this because I wanted to fully register. Am I going insane? Am I watching this crap? Am I registering all of this, taking all of this in? I'm not a news director. I worked in an environment where there was people who were sane, who were interns, who thought, rightly so, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is proper, this is improper. These are interns. Now, I'm not even talking about what happened on KTVU New Year's Day. Does somebody at KTVU fully realize how sick, how goofy, how absolutely pathetic? I can use every word that comes to mind. I shake my head and I wonder, folks, I ain't making this up. I don't come here and kvetch just to kvetch. I am just simply reacting to something that beyond outrageous. It's beyond sacrilegious. Tom Vakar You, of all people, taking part in this charade? Now, to his little defense, I'm sure if Vakar understood that they were running this program all the while, New Orleans, what's going on there. And then again, we didn't know the situation in Vegas. Now we know. But forget Vegas. New Orleans is ongoing. So yeah, now the FBI says this terrorist perhaps was a lone wolf. But think about the optics, folks, of this show. And I don't even care what they're talking about. Some idiotic, stupid frailties. Tom Vakar and the other mortal idiots, the other yahoos, I guess they really worry about their job. Otherwise, they wouldn't take part in this. Or they would have a stipulation in their contracts or what have you. Some of them don't have actual contracts. They would say, you know what? You can't do this. You can't do this. If I'm involved in this show, Ali Rasmus, too, was involved. But I'll give Ali Rasmus a pass because I don't think Ali would have taken part in this had she known that this would be running while New Orleans was grieving. And Dave Clark, who I know is basically not a news guy. He's a teleprompter reader. That's all he is. But Tom Vakar and Mr. Lee, the other guy. But folks, again, Fred Zender was a news director, a very, very highly regarded, renowned, award-winning news guy who tragically was killed by a drunk driver in Alameda 3 or 4 years ago. He was walking his dog and he got killed. Fred Zender was for years the very esteemed KTVU news director, pre-Fox. But nevertheless, Fred Zender would be shaking, and now shaking in his grave, reacting to this travesty. KTVU, I will say it because the Chronicle won't. They're too busy worrying about burrito restaurants and fucking imbecilic, stupid situations and their SF Gate, the entire Chronicle. Nobody will call out KTVU. I will call out KTVU for running a program, an inane, idiotic, imbecilic, and go on and on and on program while New Orleans is grieving. Now, this was 9/11, thank God. Pretty bad, especially literally New Year's morning into New Year's Day. And everybody watching this are, obviously taken aback by the tragedy, obviously still worrying who the hell knows at the time what this could have been. And even today, a day later, reading about the victims, reading about what had happened, and you run a program like this, where is the news director at KTVU? Where is the general manager? Is she busy at the Nordstrom in Walnut Creek picking out her shoe collection? You know what? I'm going to tell you something. In the old days, maybe even today, I would venture to say today, somebody would have been brought into the office the next day if this had happened on their watch and said, pack your bags, you are gone. I know that because I talked to a few people and I asked, am I overreacting? Is there something odd about this? Is there something bizarre? Does not the optics, I keep saying, look bad? I mean, think about this. You're watching the news, you're seeing what is happening. It's all over the internet, X and Blue Sky and every known outlet. whether it's the internet, whether it's television, whether it's radio. We don't have radio in the Bay Area, but if we did, if all you got to do is turn on your device, whatever, your computer, and this is the topic that everybody is fixated on. And if not fixated, watching, observing. You turn on the channels, and KTVU, on both KTVU 2 and their sister station, all you see is like it or not. I cannot fathom how ridiculous that is. And again, I want to put in a little bit of how can I put this? I would venture to say that the Yahoos that took part in this program, had they known, or if they'd known that this was going to be run on the day that these images are coming out, they wouldn't have had this. They would have said something. I'll say that with reservation, but I would think that would be the case. Doesn't make it right. Whoever was responsible for this, whoever's shift this was on, shame on you. This has nothing to do with choice. It has everything to do with news judgment, with basic protocol. Let's just say somebody heard about this, and you had to have heard about New Orleans. Would it not have been something simple as, folks, newsroom, what are we running? Take it off. Take that program off and run whatever, whether it's Fox over-the-air news, whether it's Fox News cable, whether it's whatever. This is not right. Something is wrong. How could you let this transpire? How could you let something so obvious, so disconcerting, so plainly visible? It is obscene. Obscene. Where was the news director? Where was the assignment editor? Where are people in the newsroom? Somebody had to have shaken their head. Somebody had to have said, this doesn't look right. Oh, Rich, well, it was New Year's Day. We have a limited, personnel. Oh, that's your excuse. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm playing out a little pantomime here because I'll hear that forever from some of the defenders, some of the apologists for this pathetic operation. How could you let this happen? No wonder you're losing people. No wonder you have become moronic and simply, utterly irrelevant. You let this happen, and you wonder why people have such feelings about the media. And this is when they're not doing anything other than what they're doing. It's when it's plainly visible. The optics, as I keep saying, don't look good. And you wonder why people have such skeptical opinions of the news media. How sad, how absolutely unforgivable that you allow this to take place, KTVU. It is absolutely beyond scope that this was allowed to happen. Nothing about any of this. And I haven't even gone into this stupid foxification of Channel 2 with their stupid program that has all the authenticity of a kumquat that you buy at the dollar store if you could. It just, maybe it was intentional. Maybe somebody's trying to get rid of Like It or Not. Clearly, nobody liked it or not. It is so ridiculous and sad. And I want this on the record.